Back at you again with the cutting room floor. This time we're covering The Irregulars on Netflix.
Is it worth it or not? Welcome all you misfits and metalheads to the cutting room floor. That's right, we're back. Get used to us. Don't forget to like and subscribe and check our music out right here on YouTube and Spotify. Today is another wonderful Wicked Wednesday, and we're reviewing the Netflix original show, The Irregulars. Rose, why don't you tell them a little bit about this one?
Well, The Irregulars focuses on a group of misfits from the streets of Victorian London. Their names are Bee, Jesse, Billy, and Spike, and they're also joined later on by another friend named Leopold, who is from a much nicer part of town, if you know what I mean. So he's kind of slumming it with this crew, but they don't have any idea about who he is. And it revolves around a series of supernatural mysteries going on that have to do with a rip between the worlds of the living and the worlds of the dead.
And I found that really interesting to have this story in the time period and the world of Sherlock and Watson, but not have them be
the main characters,
not have them be the main focus that we're seeing all the time. I thought that was a really interesting take.
Yes.
Just right away, I was like, oh, you mean they're in the world, but it's kind of not about them? It's like, yes, they have a part to play. You know, so I was like,
really cool
right,
take.
I'll grab my popcorn. What you got? What you got?
If you are fans of the Sherlock Holmes books, you will immediately know, when you see the door address for 221B, who you're about to be seeing in the show. And actually, you'll see more of Watson than you will of Sherlock. It's really interesting. I thought that they switched the focus in a very interesting way.
Right?
I didn't know if I was going to like it or not when I first started watching it. But you know what? Those characters kind of get in your heart a little bit.
They grow on you
know
really
what I mean?
quick, I find.
Yeah, you really start to feel for them. And they're just like this little crew of orphans, like looking out for each other and trying to stay out of a couple of them were in what's called the workhouse over there, which is, you see in flashbacks that it was not a good place to be.
Not a good time.
You know what I mean? And, they were all like treated very poorly, especially poor Bee, which is why she is she's very prickly, that one, but she has a lot of heart.
I mean, she has a reason to.
She's just there to look out for her crew. She doesn't want anything to happen to them like what happened to her. So she's very much like the mama bear of the crew that's just trying to, she'll do whatever. She'll steal if she has to feed her friends, because she doesn't really consider them friends. She considers them family. And one of them is family, her sister, Jessie. So anyway,
so Watson actually finds these kids and approaches them because he needs help investigating some stuff that,
is in the seedier part of town. So he knows that he won't be able to walk around there unnoticed because he's way too obviously like upper class.
Also, Watson, not what I expected in this show. His personality, I was like, whoa, this dude got some problems.
Watson got issues.
He got some anger. Watson has a lot of issues.
Which is really interesting because I was expecting that from Sherlock. Because if you know the books, you'll know that
Sherlock is a mess.
Yeah, Sherlock was brilliant, but Sherlock was also a junkie. You know what I mean? And Sherlock had like crazy manic depressive mood swings, and he would just, in between his bouts of like total and utter brilliance, he also had some pretty low points as well. So I was expecting that from Sherlock, but from Watson, oh my goodness.
I mean, I guess if you really think about it, if Sherlock is your best friend / kind of obsession, and you're hanging around him, or at least trying to all the time, some of his not so good habits might kind of start rubbing,
douchebaggery.
Might kind of rub off on you a little bit,
Yeah,
So I don't know. a little bit might be understating it, but
Yeah.
it was definitely interesting. I wasn't expecting it. It kept me paying attention because I was.
It really did.
You know, it's gonna fly out of his mouth. It's like, damn.
Ooh, yeah, he's
Watson?
cold.
Like,
Watson
damn.
is cold.
Oh,
Cold-blooded.
cold-blooded, man. Woo. I know what he's going to be for Halloween.
Oh, yeah.
I think Sub-Zero was invented a little too late for that, but, like, damn, Watson.
Yeah, man. Watson is cold, man.
Yeah, so
everybody's got their issues in this show. Nobody is a perfect character at all, and that's what I kind of like about it. Actually,
it's real.
You know?
Everybody's
Yeah.
flawed, which is very realistic.
Yeah, absolutely. So it kind of takes like whatever high standards that you had for Sherlock and Watson, and it takes them down a peg.
But it's kind of good because I can't say they ever really go too far into that other side of Sherlock, how he's a junkie. When you see other things, it's either it's not mentioned very much, it's kind of glossed over. It's just kind of pushed to the side, swept under the rug a little bit.
Yeah.
And this one, it's just like, well, guess what? All those other things that just completely covered it up, we're going to show you what it's really like from the book. And it was just a completely different side that you don't normally get to see. But he is still very intelligent. So, the genius does kick in, but it's not just like, I'm brilliant Sherlock and, I'll solve this in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Because, he's going through withdrawals and all this other stuff.
Basically,
it's really interesting.
At this point in the story, he's more of... he's having troubles. So you'll see all the good facets, and you'll see the bad facets as well.
All this supernatural stuff is happening.
Yeah, and it's well done. I like it. It's really interesting. It's very much like Monster of the Week kind of thing, where each time they're confronted with some new thing, and they basically have to, find these irregularities. You know what I mean? They have to find these people that have, all of a sudden have these supernatural powers and are wielding them. And these supernatural powers twist you into something dark, even if you are a good person, So basically, they're just doing all kinds of mayhem. And the more mayhem they do, the bigger that rip gets, So more and more monsters start showing up throughout the show as pretty much,
you would expect and
you would
hope.
Expect, yeah, exactly.
Yep. So these kids are doing a lot of the heavy lifting.
Yeah, they're doing
when
a lot of the
it comes
heavy
to trying
lifting.
to solve what's going on, because Sherlock and Watson just aren't going to have as easy access to the slums and the information and just snooping around as these guys are. So I thought it was a really cool take on how they did that to keep these guys like around and in the world, and they do have their moments where they have a lot of camera time, but it's not really focused on them. It's really focused on the kids and the kids trying to solve all these supernatural things that are happening. And I love watching some supernatural something coming through a portal or a hole or a rift or something.
Give me a rift between the living and the dead, and I'm gonna want to see what happens.
You have two viewers right here.
All right. So, how would you rate The Irregulars on Netflix?
I am going to rate The Irregulars a 4 out of 5 chainsaws. Caught me by surprise. I was thinking I was going to like this less than I actually, than I did. I liked it a lot more than I expected to. Just different ways of telling the story that once you said Sherlock was in the place, I was like, oh, it's going to be like another, and no, not really. So it was cool because it wasn't quite what I expected. But I was expecting like to get kind of Monster of the Week and then ramping up and the crazy, nice blend, good mix. Pretty good characters. You get into them, and nobody's a perfect character, which makes it even more realistic, in my opinion. Nobody has all of their stuff together. Especially under a lot of stress, like all of these characters are going under. Yeah. So Rose, what are you thinking about it? What are you gonna give this?
I'm gonna give it the same rating. I'm gonna give it a 4. I think it was great. Again, unexpectedly. Really loved those street kids. I was all about them, even though sometimes they make stupid choices. But they're kids. Yeah,
but they were teenagers and also. They're kids, so it's like
when you see the way that they react to things versus the way that the adults are reacting to things, you're like, damn, these kids are like smarter than these adults in a lot of respects. You know what I'm saying? Like these kids have like been through some stuff, and at least they have like this thread of support and camaraderie that never, every once in a while it gets strained, but it never breaks, and it's what gets them through a lot of really difficult challenges. And you really see how hard it is for a bunch of orphan kids in London. The place that they live is a freaking
times are hard
rat
in the
hole.
slums.
You know what I mean? It's hard in them slums.
It makes you appreciate being born now. As many problems as there are in this day,
be thankful, y'all.
Still makes
be
you
thankful.
Appreciate being born. I wouldn't want to be born back then.
I wouldn't want to be in Victorian
And
London.
there's no indoor plumbing. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. If I was a time traveler, it would only be until I had to go to the bathroom if I was in the past. Like.
Oh, man. Anyways.
Right. Well, don't forget to like and subscribe. We're going to start working on some stuff again now that we're nice and healthy and strong. Yeah. Got some plans in the works. Hopefully now we'll start making a lot more progress towards them. Listen to our music here on YouTube, on Spotify. Feel free to buy our album. I sure enough won't be mad about that.
It's on iTunes and it's on Amazon and all those places that you like
if
to...
you look for it, you'll find it.
Yeah.
And I think that's about all for us this time.
Okay.
Until next time, we are
out.